is, first of all, not necessarily for somebody who is 40 and above. It should be for anybody, because if I started planning earlier, I probably would have done better with myself. But I want to crave your indulgence that we do something. One thing. Now, this may be deemed to be going against the law of the land. It's a controversial topic today, but it's something I began to do sometime this year because it's a prayer as well as an anthem. So anybody who can, please unmute your microphone and join me in reciting the previous national anthem, but the second stanza. Take note, not Arise, O compatriots, O God of creation. It's a prayer. It also speaks to where we want to be. This is not saying I'm not going to recite the new national anthem or the old new national anthem. It's essentially to start the program with a prayer that is non-sectional, has no religious bias, and just speaks the words we would like to hear. So I will keep mute. I can't stand. Whenever I hear the anthem of Nigeria, I stay in one place and I go ahead to read it. So I'm going to recite that. Someone suggested that I put the lyrics in the chat section. I probably shouldn't, because you might have to forget it soon enough. So let's just join me, and I will go ahead to recite the national anthem, the previous one, only the second stanza. Blah, blah, blah. O God of creation,
guide right
our leaders, help the youth
to know
in
honesty living just and
Lord,
great
to build a nation where peace and justice shall reign.
Thank you very much. Prayer, something
God bless Nigeria.
God bless Nigeria. Very important. Not expect country to do poorly and then you will do well. However, I have a new stance, it's not new really, but a mindset of mine that I'd like to share, which is that no matter what's going on in Egypt, so be lights in. If you know, you know. No matter what happens in Egypt, I pray for Egypt to do well. We get freedom someday and cool, but no matter what goes on in Egypt, there'll be lights in my Goshen. That will be, that's my own standpoint, and anybody can join in that. So I would start off the session immediately. My appeal to you quickly is this: get a pen and a jotter. Get a pen and a jotter now. Don't wait until later. That thinking that comes when people go into a webinar, but when we're done, we can see the recording again, or we can ask for the material. First of all, there's no material to share. There are people who I have plenty of respect for, who honor the call to come and speak about people at a certain age in life. That's all we have going on today. I don't guarantee that we will send anything to you after today's session. So if you join the session, like join usual ones and say, okay, when we're done, we'll get the recording, maybe the recording, but I'm not sure about that. When we get the recording, we'll get the material, please. Drop it. It's not going to happen. There's no material to be shared. So here's my appeal. Get a pen and a jotter. In fact, do us one favor and flash your pen and jotter. So put on your videos. Don't show your face. Just show your pen and your jotter. That's all I ask. Show us your pen. Show us your jotter. And as soon as I see from a few people, we can jump straight into it. So here I am preparing myself to start. I'm good to go, but I'd like to be sure that people are willing to write something down. I don't need to see your face. Just, I can see Dr. Shexy. Panelists have a pen and jotter. How dare you? Great. I see Oyin's pen. Bimbo Falu. Welcome. Thank you very much. Some people got the notification yesterday and said, you know what? I'm going to join. Oyin, I see your pen and jotter. Pamela Long John, I see your pen and jotter. Chidima Igwe, Chinyere Okafo. Men, please don't fall my hand, as they say in Nigeria. I'm seeing women flashing pens and jotters, and the men are not responding. Hafsa, I see your pen and jotter as well. Sounds like somebody. Men, do not fall my hand. Pen and jotter, please. Oh boy, oh boy. Dr. Enosora, I see you. I see you loud and clear. I'm looking for a pen and jotter. I don't need to see your face. Just show me your pen. Show me your jotter. Everybody in the room. I'm looking for people to show pen and jotter. We take this seriously. We need to really take this seriously. And just so you know, I don't only have a pen and jotter. I have a pen and a pencil, and I have a jotter. And I bring them out with me because I say that will strike me. Somebody will say something that will strike me. Somebody will say something that will hit me, so to speak. Every time somebody says something that will add value to you, please write why. The faintest scribble. Let me type in the section. Please mute your microphone. Welcome, Audrey. I'm typing in the chat section every now and then. The faintest scribble, we say this all the time, is greater than the sharpest memory. You think you would remember. And then if you live in Nigeria, between Last Mile Road Safety and VIO, once they stop you once or twice, everything you heard is out the window. So please be ready to write something. Welcome again. It's 10 minutes past 9. Introductions. Quickly, I bring the panelists on. No, I introduce today's session. Why are we here? What is the intention? Then the panelists already know who's going first and who's going next. Do me a favor. If you've joined today's session and it is not your name that is on the screen, from the admin link that has purple training, everybody else, please make sure you change it to your name. Who are we? Poco, just change it to your name. There are some set of people called Zoom bombers. They come into a Zoom session like this, or any webinar for that matter, and try to take over the space. One day I was talking and they were posting porn on a very serious sessions platform. Somebody was drawing stuff on it. We need to be sure that you're not a robot. So please put your name and not your device name, if you don't mind. Over the next few minutes, I will show you something that leads us into today's session. It doesn't say much. It's not a presentation slide per se, but a guide to what we want to discuss today. And the belief is that if we set the tone right, the panelists can pick it up from there and run with it. So this will be my guide, and you will have it up in a minute. Let me know once you see it. All right, let me know once you see it. Once you see a set of slides, or please just say, yes, I can see it, okay? Can anybody see it yet?
Not yet.
Not yet, okay. Technology will not fail me today because I've made, yes, I think I've seen what the challenge is. Please make sure, if you just come in, you might have missed something I said. Get a pen and a jotter, write something down. Number one. Number two, attending a session like this does not automatically make you okay. What it does is sets a foundation, and then you have the rest of the year, the rest of your life actually, to put things into perspective and make sense out of it. So please let us note that. Now, having said that, I believe very strongly that my slides are up. Anybody? If you can, please let me know.
It's coming up, but it's not showing yet.
It's not showing yet. Okay, I'm going to hold on.
Yes, it's on.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So, welcome once again. Please just final thing, confirm you can hear me clearly. Anybody, just say, I can hear you clearly, and that would be fine by me. It's of extreme importance that we check this.
I can hear you clearly, Kuro.
Great. My panelists are helping me out a whole lot. Thank you very much. So welcome to today's session. Today's webinar was tagged after 40, the next few steps. And in the next few slides, you will see the reason why we did that. Many people feel stuck and face many challenges at this stage of life. We've gone through certain stages. At this stage, many different challenges start coming in. The world, as we know it today, has even made that more prominent. And the question is, what do you do to move from one step to the next? So we've picked 3 very experienced panelists, and all 3 of them are here with us today. all right, to discuss the subject matter. The session will end at 11:30, come what may. We're also trying to preach to people certain values we need to bring back to the way we do things and our work ethics. One of them is always arrive early. Punctuality is the soul of business. The second one is respect people's time. If you tell them 11:30, wrap up at 11:30. So if you are here and you have an O1B to attend or something else to do, plan to break away from here and go and start at 11:30. We will be done by then. If you can see this, then you can hear me clearly and you are already a part of today's session. All right. So moving on real quick. I will play a short video and I'll keep quiet while that is going on to share with you the company that has put this together, under which I'm working today. So I'll keep quiet and play this video. And when the video is done, I'll come right back.
Purple Training and Consulting is the learning and development arm of Purple Plethora Concepts Limited. We provide services in training by improving skills of employees and management, consulting by providing unique and bespoke solutions to identify problems, recruitment by identifying, recruiting, and onboarding best fit employees, business development by engaging businesses in the ideas, initiatives, and activities aimed at making businesses better, from startups to existing businesses seeking strategies for growth or restructuring. The 4 guiding principles for our engagement with clients are providing value and applying innovation while displaying empathy and resilience. Our mission is to be a leading provider of exceptional services in appearance and content into clients across the globe. We also have a large faculty of trainers and consultants with several years of experience providing top-notch value. You can visit our website at www.purpleplethora.com.ng to view our programs and services, receive quotes, and contact us. You can also chat with us directly on WhatsApp by typing bit.ly/chatpurple on your browser, or send us emails. We look forward to working with you.
So that is who we are and what we do. We can take that conversation further later in the day. For now, we'll just jump straight into it. If your mic is not muted, please mute your mic. My colleagues who are admins, please keep checking the waiting room as well and letting people in as soon as they show signs that they would like to join us. Anybody in the waiting room, please let them in immediately. All right. So that's who we are. That's what we do. And moving on. My laptop is hanging, so I'll come back to share once that hanging goes off. Why are we here today? What are we doing in today's session? What do we intend to achieve today? So can you still hear me, or maybe myself?
We can hear you very well.
Okay, great. It seems like one device I'm working with is currently frozen, so I'll just go to the next. And that's what we do. Create a backup so that we can always continue with what we have to do whenever that is the case. So if you can still hear me, hold on. Sound should be great. Why are we here? There's an echo. Do you hear any echo, or it's just me?
There's an echo.
Okay. Is the echo gone now?
It's still there.
Yes, the echo should be gone now. Please double check, confirm, so I can continue.
Yes, it's gone.
Please, can you hear me? And is the echo still there, or it's gone?
We can hear you, and the echo is gone. The echo is gone.
Oh, you can hear me. Apologies, my sound was not clear from here. You can hear me? Thumb up anybody, you can hear me?
We can
Mic
hear.
check. Oh, great. We used to do that a lot. Mic check 1, 2. All right, so welcome. I'm going back to the conversation earlier. I will introduce myself first, and I'll make that one real quick while I go back to putting up, the material I had in front of you. My name is Kuro. I was born on Lagos Island in the country Nigeria. I really want my slides to come back up, so forgive my stuttering every now and then. Yes. If you can see my slides again, a quick thumb up, and then I can continue to run with it. So to my colleagues, can you see what I'm presenting now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Apparently, there were quite a few people still coming into the waiting room, and we're trying to get them in quickly. I already expressed this, but in a different way. The smallest thing you write down is greater than your ability to remember it. So please write down anything that strikes you today that makes you go, oh, okay, this makes sense, or this I can apply, as the case may be. As a guide for today's session, I would first introduce the topic and say a few things around the topic. Thereafter, I will introduce the panelists, and they will speak from different perspectives about today's conversation, all right? The first picture you see there is actually a picture of me. So I was telling my story earlier. Born on Lagos Island, I went to a local primary school, Lagos Island Local Government Primary School. I don't know if you can get any more local in context, but hey, look at me now. I ended up in secondary school in Kano, Federal Government College Kano, and I spent my entire secondary education in the north with people from different parts of the country, in fact, different parts of the world, but mainly Nigerians. One from every one of 30 states was in my set until I left secondary school. I left secondary school and spent 2 years waiting for admission to a university. In that period, I worked 5 jobs. The first job, I worked as an office assistant, then as a lab technician, then an office assistant again, then a meal delivery boy, like a pizza delivery boy of sorts, and did all of that until University of Ibadan gave me admission. And I entered University of Ibadan to study geography, finished with a BSc in geography. NYSC was in Standard Trust Bank, and then I ended up at Guaranty Trust Bank, where I started fully my banking career. I spent 12 years in Guaranty Trust Bank, went to Access, then UBA, before I started out on my own, so to speak. But I first worked a few jobs. I was chief operating officer in a restaurant, chief operating officer in another organization, an NGO, an international NGO, before I fully ventured out into doing what I'm doing today. I'm currently head of faculty at Purple Training and Consulting, and that's my real face, not the one you see on your camera. All right, and that's the story of me. But let's talk about our panelists and do that quickly. You've seen the flyer, most likely, and that's the reason why you're here. But do you know the people that were pictured in the flyers? I'll start off with the first one in no particular order. Ndidi and I worked in GT Bank for several years, and there were special traits you find in people that you want to imbibe and run with. Ndidi had some of them. Ndidi is a transformational leader and has 24 years in the bag as a career professional. She served in senior management levels at an African multinational banking franchise, and currently she serves as the CEO at Parthian Capital. You should look them up. Look them up. She's the author of the book Power of Work. I have a copy of the book. I'll flash it later, but hold on, I don't agree. Yes, I have a copy of her book, and here it is, The Power of Work, and lead mentor at the Warrior Initiative. Indeed, he's an alumni of the Lagos Business School AMP program and has trained at Harvard, Wharton, Pennsylvania, IESE in Spain, and in other places. She's a chartered accountant, fellow of the Institute of Credit Admin, member of the Institute of Bankers and Institute of Taxation, one person. A keen volunteer, she has served proudly as governor of the managers community of the Covenant Nation Community Group Initiative. In fact, she was on the platform this year. Ndidi lives by a mantra: impossible is nothing. So you know why she's here. And is passionate about releasing the vast potential in intrapreneuring. When an employee thinks like an entrepreneur, we call them an intrapreneur. and seeing the rise of the next generation of resilient leaders. Please make welcome with thumbs up emojis Ndidi Ukaonu. In no particular order, again, Dr. B. Olutunde. I call him Dr. Shegs, and you can call him that too. Olusegun B. Olutunde, I have known for over 2 decades. He's a medical doctor, a clinical oncologist who specializes in the treatment of cancer. He's a public speaker with a passion for counseling. He had given scores of online trainings, including with me, and teaching sessions regarding a diverse range of topics from health and well-being to managing emotions and so on. Dr. B. Olutunde loves to cook and loves food. I know that. He loves to travel, and he's also an avid writer who likes to share his insights with the world. I don't know a more spriteful person than Dr. Shegs. He's somebody you talk to in the morning, and the rest of the day you're bouncing around like something great happened to you. And I hope he infects you with that thing today. He's married with children, of course. And please also make welcome Dr. Olusegun B. Olutunde. I'm looking for, I don't see any emojis. Where are the emojis? Where are the some? Okay, I can see a few. Auntie. I call her Auntie, you can join me. Inyang Sami Orungbe is a business admin graduate of Rivers State University of Science and Technology with an MBA in business management from ESUT Business School, Lagos. She has over 35 years working experience, so forgive my calling her Auntie. Her corporate working life has taken her through organizations like IBTC, now Stanbic IBTC, and Crusader Sterling Pensions, where she was pioneer head of marketing. She also worked within the Guaranty Trust Group at Assure Assist Management Limited, a subsidiary of Guaranty Trust Assurance, which is now, by the way, AXA Mansard, as the head of business development, managing high net worth clients or HNIs. She's an independent member of the investment committee for the mutual funds of RMB Nigeria Assets Management Limited, a subsidiary of Rand Merchant Bank or RMB. She's currently the managing partner and co-founder of Averti Professional Managers and an all-female business, which is an all-female business solutions agency, sorry. She's the founder of the Bloombox platform, from where she operates as a retirement expert, facilitating and coaching on retirement planning. In fact, today, I'm going to join Inyang Sami Orungbe at 1 p.m. at Radisson Blu to learn about retirement again. And it's a paid event. I paid. I want to listen and learn. That's what people should learn to do. Invest in your own personal development. I'll flash that flyer in a few minutes. She's a fellow of the National Institute of Marketing of Nigeria and a council member of LDNI, Learning and Development Network International, where I'm also a learning and development professional. Again, emojis just before we jump straight into the rest of the session. I'm looking for the emojis. I can't find them. I can't find the emojis or something in the chat section. It could be a chat. It could be something. It could be a chat. It could be something. Oh, great. I can see them now. So here are your panelists, and now you know why we brought them together. What will they be talking about? You've heard my story already, or a big part of my story. How I ended up where I am. And no, I don't have a, when I was young, I had no shoes, so I had to walk to school kind of story, but a similar one. I lived in a family where there were 8 to 10 of us in a 2-bedroom apartment on Lagos Island. And somehow my father had a way of insulating us from what the environment had to give. Almost everybody spoke vernacular, Yoruba in particular, every day. Did we learn it? Yes, but we would not speak it in my house. Did we learn other virtues? Yes, we did. And today, my siblings are in different parts of the country, one of them outside doing different things. But my story is not about a rags to riches story. It's about a mentality. I believe very strongly, and that's what we're preaching and telling everybody now, that the way you perceive things, the way your mind takes things is very, very important. And I'll start from the beginning of beginnings. So in the beginning, as agreed by the 2 major religions in Nigeria, Christianity and Islam, Adam and Eve were the first man and woman. I'm going to leave everything before then. Let's just start with man and woman. There was Adam, and then there was Eve. In Islam, it's Adamu and Hawa. If that story holds true, or you believe it for any reason, then you should follow my train of thoughts. And here's my train of thoughts, real simply. There was Adam and Eve, yes. And at some point in time, they left a garden, the Garden of Eden, and ended up in the world. Now, that period, something went wrong, they were sent out of the garden, led to these 3 theories of mine. The first theory, which is very simple, is that when Adam and Eve left the Garden of Eden, they left with nothing. Again, follow the train of thought, write it down if it strikes you. They left Eden as we know it with nothing. First theory. Second theory, when they came into the world, everything in the world was natural. There was no mobile phone. There were no clothes. Everything was natural. Birds, trees, plants, water, sand. Second theory. Here's my third theory, though. Between that time, when they first came into the world, and now, everything created as we know it has been created from the mind of a man or woman. At no point in time is there any record of a divine being coming to the world to say, hey, man needs mobile phones. Then it was created. No, it was the mind of a man or woman that thought of something. Maybe looked at a bird and wondered, how come they can fly and we can't? And began to think and innovate and invent until we got to where we are today. And that man or woman could be you listening to me today, because your mind is your most powerful resource. The way you see things, the way you think things is very essential to the outcome that you get. So if you are questioning where you are, I'm talking about things we've heard a lot. I'll talk about that later, by the way, the full at 40 thing. It is essentially the way you see things. And that's what you should be questioning every day. Which leads me to ask this question: what is your mindset? Out of curiosity, what is your mindset? Your mindset is how you see things, how you perceive things, how you interpret things when they happen to you. And my question to you today is, what is your mindset? When something happens around you, how do you interpret it? What does it mean to you? If you don't begin to question your mindset, you may essentially be creating things you didn't plan to. There are several mindsets. I will only touch on a few in contrast with one another. There's a fixed mindset, for instance, and a growth mindset. And if we don't deal with your mind today and we start the session, you won't take much away. So forgive my introduction. A fixed mindset is one where somebody thinks there's a limit to what I can do. I either know math or I don't know math. This thing is not for me. I cannot learn this thing. And that stunts growth. The growth mindset, the person with that kind of mindset believes if they can do it, I can do it. If they can get it, I can get it. There is the other one, scarcity versus abundance. The person with a scarcity mindset, believes that the world is a zero-sum game. Once you take something from the world, it's no longer available to me. So sometimes they will try to stop you from getting something so that they can get it. Now, the guy with the abundance mindset, guy or lady, believes that the sky is big enough for all birds to fly. And quite frankly, literally, that's true. So they believe that even if you get it, I can still get it. They'll probably help you to get it so that you can then show them how to get theirs. See how the mindset affects everything we do. Number 3, comparisons. There's the fear mindset and the productive mindset. The person with the fear mindset sits and thinks, what if it goes wrong? What if I'm embarrassed doing this? What if it fails? How will they see me? What will they say about me? The person with a productive mindset is putting efficiency and effectiveness together, believing that if I put in the work, I will get the result. Efficiency is doing something with little waste. Effectiveness is getting the thing done. You should start questioning your mindset now, because it will determine what happens to you later, not just here, but everywhere. And mindset is something we need to be clear about, by the way. Your mind is not your heart. Your mind is not in your chest. Your mind is not an organ. It's not tangible. Your mind actually works this way, you see, in your brain, right? There are different parts of your brain that handle different things. So there's a part of your brain that handles memory. A part handles thinking. There's the amygdala, emotions. There's the hypothalamus, different parts of your brain. So what happens is when information gets to your brain, those different parts of your brain start speaking to one another. Case in point, I blindfold Dr. Sheggs and I put a pinch of salt on his tongue. His tongue is a sense organ, and the tongue takes the message and sends it to his brain. When it gets to his brain, that message of the taste, the feel, all of that of the salt, somewhere in his brain, he has memorized the taste of salt, the feel of salt. And so his memory says, oh, I know what this is. That's salt. And then he says salt. That's how the brain works. If it triggers a feeling in him. Like I give him something very bitter to taste, like vinegar, and it triggers some kind of feeling where he crunches his face or something. An emotion could get triggered, or if it reminds him of something. That's how your mind works, essentially. If you're not muted, please mute your microphone. So you need to keep questioning how your mind operates. And in that mind, when all these faculties, 6 of them, when they start speaking to one another, we do 2 things with that information. We think, which is to logically consider something. To think is to logically, critically look at something and say, if I walk out in the rain, I will get wet. That's thinking. There's no feeling involved. Then we feel happiness, sadness, love, anger, fear. Those 2 things happen in our minds, triggered by different parts of our brains that talk to one another. Every time information goes to your mind, you are thinking, you are feeling. Guess what it means to think and feel? To think and feel describes your attitude towards anything. Google it. Attitude is the way you think and feel about something. So, what do you think and feel about your life today? What do you think and feel about your past, or your present, or your future? What do you think and feel about people around you? The country Nigeria. Because what you think and feel will then determine what you say and do. What you think and feel determines what you say and do. And what you say and do leads to the results that you get in life. So if you are questioning your results today, begin to question your attitude towards these things. Begin to question the way you think and feel about these things. And then it leads me to ask the question, what are your beliefs? What things have they told you repeatedly that you have now believed as being real? I've only picked one. A jack of all trades is a master of none. Recently, I began to research these things. They say, are they correct? Let me give you another example before I go into this one. They say absence makes the heart grow fonder. They also say out of sight is out of mind. Here is a quiz I want you to answer in the chat section. Which one do you accept and why? Absence makes the heart grow fonder. Out of sight is out of mind. Which one do you believe and why do you believe it? Whatever you think, just drop it in the chat section. We'll read it as we go along. But let me come back to this one. A jack of all trades is a master of none. Very popular. Is it true? Is it correct? Is it written the way it was supposed to be said or the way it was said in the first place? Okay, let me elaborate a little bit, just a little bit. Let me elaborate a little bit. The full phrase, the proper phrase actually reads, a jack of all trades, meaning if you want to know many things, you may be a master of none. That is true. But the end of the phrase actually reads, but it's oftentimes better than being a master of one. A jack of all trades is a master of none. Yes, but that's not the end of the sentence. It reads in continuum, but it's oftentimes better than a master of one. I give you a personal example. I engage in training. All right, I'm seeing chat messages in chat section. I'll come back to that later. I engage in training and I made up my mind from the beginning. I don't want to be called a master facilitator in one topic only. Credit, for instance, emotional intelligence, sales, marketing. I don't want that. What I want to do is to be somebody who can train and have more work in different areas, and that has begun to happen. So what thing do you know that you think is the only thing you should know? You should be an expert at it, maybe, but if that's all you know, and that is your only stream of income, what happens when the stream dries up? We want you to begin to question those things a little bit, and I'm going to round off here and then invite our very first panelist to take the stage so that we can move a little quicker. You must have heard this a lot. The Nigerian version of it is a fool at 40 is a fool forever. Listen to Fela's song. I'll type the lyrics in the chat section later. He actually goes on to say, whether you're a fool at 20 or you're a fool at 100, all fool na fool. It doesn't mean once you cross the 40-year-old mark, things have gone completely off the mark for you. Many people have started businesses that you probably didn't know. Colonel Sanders started KFC at 62. Ray Kroc, McDonald's at 52. Huffington Post by Ariana Huffington at 55. I can go on and on, but I won't because I don't want to take more time than I should. So I'm going to pause at this point. Invite our very first speaker. In the order in which they were introduced. Ndidi Konu, you heard her profile. She will take the stage and she will speak to us about the next 20 odd minutes. If you have questions, though, do me a favor. Begin to scribble them down. You can put them in the chat section. And when we have a Q&A, at the end of the three of them, when they finish speaking, we're going to have a question and answer session, and we can take every question you may have concerning you. But I'll call Ndidi to the stage. And if you don't mind, please put on your video. I think I have hit a little more than the time planned. Ndidi, are you there?
Hi. Good morning.
Hello.
Can you see me?
I can see you and hear you loud and clear.
Great. So good morning, everyone. And that was a brilliant start. I have to say thank you to Koro and Popo Consulting, not just for having me, but because I think that this is the season for this conversation. And permit me to just draw attention to the brilliant work that I also call her Auntie Yang has been doing. She has really kind of pioneered this and has pushed it forward when nobody was speaking about this. And I think that it is critically important both for the individuals, and I've done some tests in the market myself, but I also believe that it is super critical for the nation. So I will share my slides just as a guide. I hope I can find good. Sorry, I have to do it differently. I will share my slides just as a guide for this conversation, and then we will take it on from there. As soon as you see my slides, please indicate in one way or another. Can you see my slides now?
Yes,
yes, ma'am, we can.
Okay, so we need to go to slideshow then. Okay, well, I'm not the tech-enabled jingle. I'm looking for my...
You can just do view and then slideshow.
Yes, exactly. Something is covering the view. Okay, great. So okay, I found what I'm looking for. Not to worry. I don't know why I'm struggling. Okay, I found what I'm looking for. Yes. So this is what, this is just to set the tone. And if you listen to me at Platform this year, you would know that I did speak to this issue. And this is where we're going to start from the end. You know, like one of my favorite authors, I'm a COVID disciple. He says, habit 2, begin with the end in mind. All right. And this, for me, is where we're going to land my own tone that I want to bring to the conversation. And the question is, we are already over 40. What are we going to do? Because I believe that this is the singular question that has brought everybody into this room. And my answer to that question is, we must transcend and we must reinvent. And before you ask why, I got you. Some people think that, this has to be Maslow's hierarchy of needs, has to be maybe the only model she knows or the model she loves the most. I don't know about that. But I'll tell you this. It is a model that has made a lot of sense at this point in my life. So when I first spoke at the platform in 2023 with my namesake, she will hate it for me to call her auntie, so I'll just say Audrey. We are really honored to have her here. And if you don't know, she and Mrs. Yang are besties. And, we start to talk about self-actualization almost being the center of your life, like the thing that you're searching for, that in some cases you don't even know that you're searching for. How do you actualize you? But one of the things that we have learned, that Maslow himself learned just before he died, and the work was published after he had died. He did the work before he died. And it was that, look, even when you self-actualize, your life is still going to be wanting for something. And how he encapsulated that is transcendence, to transcend beyond self. And I agree, and this is what I say. Until your life is making meaning for others, you are truly not living. And I'm at the point in my life, or I was at that point maybe 6 years ago, when I started to reflect. And that's why the community group initiative, serving on that platform, has meant the world to me. Because I was at the point in my life where I was saying continually to myself that it was enough of taking, and I was looking for an opportunity to give. And that platform provided me the opportunity to give, and I would say brought me to the point where I am today in my life. Living for others, give as a way to finding fulfillment for me. And the one thing I'll tell you is that someone asked me recently, how do you feel? Kuro will tell you when we're in the bank, passion is my second name. My blood runs orange. How do I feel right now? I'll tell you, I feel whole. I feel so good. I'm so excited for this second half of my life. But I know that for a lot of people, it is spelling doom and gloom. And one of my messages this morning is to get you out of that place. Because, oh my God, you are in such an exciting part of your life. You just need to see it, you need to own it, and you need to start to live it. And if that's not compelling enough, in seeking fulfillment, your pension has been eroded. Devaluation, correct. And then the idea of your children will fund your retirement. I think you and I have to see that is fast going away. So that's a reality that you need to deal with today and start to focus on how do you do you in a way that you can live and thrive. We will be quick, not a lot of slides. And I've reflected on this and I say, what can we learn from time past? For those of us who are thinking, there can only be doom, I don't have money, society is getting worse, you're in that dark place. Please come to the brighter side of life. When I look at people like Okonjo-Iweala, who is turning 70 this year, it was just a few years ago that we saw Okonjo dragging to be the head of the World Trade Organization. This is a woman that you and I would have thought that after becoming such a celebrated Minister of Finance in Nigeria, that the next thing that she would do is become an elder stateswoman. But she showed us that she could transcend and she could reinvent. And even if the only thing you know Okonjo for is WTO, you're missing a lot. She was one of the forces behind Wimbies. But even beyond Wimbies, we saw her recently when Harry and Meghan came to Nigeria, that Meghan actually called Okonjo. She had a relationship with her. I'll leave you to go and think about that. And this woman is still powering and influencing the world at 70. You are just 40 or 50 or 55. Kuro already spoke about Colonel Sanders, who founded KFC at 65. he continued to be the brand image of that business. You should go and see all the suffering that Colonel Sanders went through. And eventually, he gave us KFC. He did all, you saw Kuros CV. Colonel Sanders did all manner of things. But here we are today. We still call his name. We still remember him. And then there is May Musk, the mother of Elon Musk. And I think she's the poster child for, you got to live your life even if your children are wealthy. Why do you need to depend on them? I think she was 67 when she first, she's been a model for a while, but she was 67 when she first actualized the dream of walking the Vogue runway. And somebody is saying, oh, I've achieved nothing, I'm 35. Come on. And then there's Alan Greenspan, who left the US Federal Reserve at 80. 80. He served there for 22 years. There was a reason why he served that long, but he served there for so long. I know what I found very interesting about Alan Greenspan, who is like the CBN governor in the Nigerian equivalent. Alan Greenspan left his role as chairman of the Federal Reserve and went on to set up a consulting outfit. And someone says, I'm 50 and I'm done. No, you're not. You just started a new phase and you need to recognize that that's what it is. And then one of my favorite people in the world, Pastor Koju Oyemade. Pastor Koju is in his mid-50s, if I'm not wrong. Everybody knows, his name. He's a pastor. But this is, if there were anybody that you said was a pastor with a difference, we can say the same thing of Pastor Sam Adeyemi. If there is reinvention, this man is the poster child for reinvention. And he's still going and he's still pushing hard and strong. And somebody is saying, my life is done. No, your life is not done. And I think that that's something that we very quickly need to correct. And that's May Musk. Okay? Some people will stay with the mental state that the world has served them. Oh, I'm too old. No, not too young to run. Not too old to run also. Not too old to run, and I'm not saying just politics. I'm saying run with life. You're just not too old for anything. And this brings me to this model that I created while I was serving in the CCG. And I was invited to discuss career GPS. And I'm highlighting that top. In kind of looking at people in time past, right? I realized that and Okonjo-Iweala was one of them. Ibuku Awosika was another. Dr. Adesina was another. I was looking at people and I was like, some people are still powering, and some of us in society, we are thinking that, there's a time in our lives when we descend into oblivion. And we know that once we stop moving, we start to die. And then it corrected this model to say, look, what you're calling your peak today may actually be an anticlimax. For some people, they will get to that climax, and with reinvention, consistent reinvention, they will keep coasting. Some other people will take off, and then people who choose or who let the world choose for them that they will descend. I think my main point with this model, or this aspect of this model, is the fact that it is a choice. It's not an event that you cannot help. It is a choice. And just to help your thinking, yes, maybe the picture is photoshopped a little bit if you like, but I've seen Mrs. Awosika in person. I've been close to her. Look, she looks like this. These are women. Mo Abudu is doing incredible work in entertainment, and you will remember that that's not necessarily where she started. She just jumped into this space and she took it over. She was a hotelier at some point, or an investor in a hotel. So if she was doing this in her 40s, come on, what are we talking about? The 60-year-olds don't look like the old woman you see in the picture anymore. The 70-year-olds don't even look like this woman anymore. And I'm sure you don't look anything like this. So there is still fire in your bones. You still have something that you must give. And in America, I think data supports the position that I'm taking. But my critical message here is, even if you're 50 today or you're 40 today, if life expectancy is even 70 and you're 40, you have 30 years to live. Let that sink in. It will be 30 years of wasting. I believe that in your first half, you were gifted everything that you require to really fully manifest. But then we get into the second half and people shut down. America is showing us that there's a realization coming into their space, and then the entrance into the workforce, the strongest, powerful age group coming back into the workforce are the 65-year-olds. If this is further encouragement, it will help you. Older entrepreneurs are more likely to succeed. Startup founders are at an average age of 45. So if you start at 45, if we combine this data, you are more likely to succeed. I know that society has been selling this young, youth. Well, that's their own brand. You can choose for yourself what is your brand. And as we begin to come to a close, I believe transcendence is what bridges this void that we see. Ask yourself the question: I am at the peak of knowledge acquired over 40 years. Experience, and there is power in experiential learning, which you have a huge chunk of. Transcend skill, your disposable income. We can argue that, it's different for different people, but let me just speak a little bit about your disposable income. At a certain age, maybe 60s, right, you would have been mostly done training your kids. And then you have your money. What are you going to do? Your life just has to have purpose. And I even advocate, when we speak to finance, we actually speak about, if we speak narrowly, we speak to getting money to take care of yourself. That is the critical, most important part, I will admit. But, is there money with which you build your future? And that's why people build personal endowments. It forms the bedrock for which they will make impact. So you want to consider that. And if you're looking for further encouragement, look, there's a gap in the marketplace today, and we need your experience back in Nigeria. So let me introduce myself. This is what Kuro said. This is my 40s or before 40s, the point when just before I started to transcend. This is me now. In the last more than 2 years really. But I released the first of a series of 4 books. Power of Work, which has been well received. That was released in April this year. And if you want to work with people, I see it as an evangelistic assignment, I'll be honest with you. You want to share it with everyone you know who is an entrepreneur. So it is the first of 4 in a series of the entrepreneurial revolution. I'm an impact speaker. I think I'm called to shift people. I set up the Warrior Initiative, my former mentoring platform. We completed the first cycle. We had an average of 50 people. And I can tell you that every day I get word that they are doing well because they've been released to their potential. And I still have my 9 to 5. What I'm even doing in my 9 to 5 is so exciting. So exciting. So exciting. I invite you to come to this side of life where there is light. You're not done. It is still your time. And let me close with sharing what is one of my best proverbs in the whole world. And it's a Chinese proverb. The best time to do something was probably in the context of the conversation that we're having was maybe 20 years ago. Maybe it was 15 years ago. But the next best time is now. And I hope that in our conversation, we will have an open, let me say, brutal Q&A. I hope that we succeed in shifting you. And I hope that in the very near future, we're hearing the stories and the testimonies of how you started to live fully and differently because Kuro dared to set up this platform to have this conversation. So thank you very much.
Wow, this is my first comment. Wow. And this is the reason why I said earlier, if you're in this session, you don't have each other, you're a long. Thank you very much indeed. Brief, straight questioning people. You know, took away first. Dr. Shakes, Dr. Shakes, on your video, get ready to come up immediately. You know, the biggest thing I picked from what Ndidi said, there's a gap in the marketplace. And I guess it is very true. And we some they need
Hi, Kuro. We seem to be okay. Good.
Can you hear me now, Dr. Shakes?
Yes, you're back. Yes, you're back.
Okay, great. So Ndidi, thank you very much for that very straight to the point session. You must have picked something from it. Please begin to write your questions out. Begin to write them out. We have Dr. Shakes. Please put on your video. We saw it earlier.
It's on. It's on.
Hello. How's
Hello.
Okay, great. So
can you see me?
Dr. Shakes.
Okay. Hello, everybody. I hope you can see me. Perfect. I see myself too. Thank you for the beautiful invite to come here. My name is B. Olutunde Olusegun. As you can see, I got a brilliant interview and I'm sorry, a brilliant introduction from Kuro earlier. I'm very passionate about having these conversations with everyone here. But let me do a little icebreaker about myself. My name is B. Olutunde Olusegun. It's a mouthful, but well, you get used to it. And these are my labels that I wear with pride. I'm an all-round upstanding guy who loves God and who loves God tremendously. I have a very, very high sense of self-worth. I'm uncompromising in my principles, unafraid to be me, and a firm believer in treating people well in every sphere that I find myself. And so for that reason, and this is a picture of me feeling cool with myself along with my family. And well, I hope you know a little bit more about me now. Kuro, I'm expecting your finger on the dial. Perhaps you're a little bit distracted or your system is hanging again. All right, great. And so let's do this. In my next slide, I call for a repositioning. And it's very interesting to me because at the beginning of the conversation, Kuro already made a mention about questioning your mindset, and then the brilliant first speaker who was totally awesome. I mean, I scribbled so much notes about transcendence and reinventing yourself. Also, um, um, it was like I think we were already in sync because the first thing I'm saying is about it's time for you to reposition yourself in your 40s. I think when you're in your 40s, you tend to you're too young to be young, but you're not old enough to be old. And it's a time where you have a lot of questions to ask yourself, like, am I getting it right? Are things going the way they ought to go? Am I doing everything that I have to do? So today we're just going to be talking about repositioning your health in your 40s because as a doctor, this is where my main topic is. So what does it mean to reposition yourself? What areas have you identified that require repositioning? I think it's so important for us to tell ourselves the truth at all times and be honest with ourselves, call ourselves out on places where we are falling short so that we can then deliberately make improvement, reinventing the wheel, upscaling yourself, just like the last speaker said. I love that first slide that she brought up because it's possible to reinvent the wheel. It's possible to keep being a better version of you. And in this case, we're talking about a better version of yourself in your. So what does this mean to reposition? It calls for self-audit, which was what I've been talking about. And there's a need for a deliberate realignment or change to ensure maximal profitability. So whatever it was that you were doing before that is not adequate, you need to change habits, you need to improve on practices, and you need to adopt new styles for probably things that you felt were not worth your time or not. And in my next slide, I'm showing you about what the old you would look like. This is typically what a plate of rice and stew was like when I grew up. And this is typically what a plate of yam and egg looked like when I was growing up. I mean, if they served you this, you were excited. But in the world we find ourselves today, this is what a plate of yam and egg would look like, and this is what a plate of rice and stew will look like. So there is upgrade possible for whatever it is that you have been doing. And in your 40s, you are uniquely uniquely empowered to begin to make some of these changes. Your earning power is more, your wisdom is more, your capacity to engage is more, your understanding of life is more. And then, even as you begin to see the frailty of what life is, you also know that you have to upgrade yourself health-wise. So what are we talking about when we're talking about health? Everybody has heard this before. Instead of being free from disease, physical, mental, and social well-being, and even the good book says he wishes above all things that we prosper and be in health. So why do you need to invest in your health in your 40s? Ideally, though, if truth be told, if we had all the knowledge that we needed at 19, that's when we would have started investing in our health. But there's even more now than ever. We need to get on with the business of this. Now, health is wealth. Invest now to reap rewards in old age and all of this. I'll quickly take these ones one by one. What do I mean by when I say that your health is your wealth? You're just not able to enjoy wealth unless you are in good health. It's just impossible to be able to enjoy life without being healthy. And no matter what you have, ill health will always stop you from enjoying. This is in the next slide as you see now. So we have to deliberately look at health as one thing that would help us to actually enjoy our wealth. A lot of times people are in such a big hurry to make money, they are forgetting that their health is just as important, maybe even if not more. Because illness will always deprive you of relevant associations, business opportunities, and all of that. So if you're focusing only on running into making money, your yardstick for defining yourself in your 40s is how many millions you have in the bank, how many houses have you built, how well are you succeeding financially, and you're not putting in all of those necessary efforts into building your health, you're just not going to be able to enjoy, because at 40, this is when our body starts to have that regular downturn that will begin to bring up things like high blood pressure, diabetes, other familial illnesses, and other things too that we're not conversant with. I mean, that we're not actually in tune with. Anyway, so what do I mean by investing now for a later date? The older you get, the more likely it is that you're going to get ill. So if you're in your 40s and you're fine, the truth of the matter is that we get older, the risk of high blood pressure increases, the risk of diabetes, people having stroke. Most illnesses occur between the 50s and the 60s of life. And then further on, there's now then a higher frequency of this illness, but it usually peaks around 50 and 60. And we're thinking that you have to invest now to be able to reap a good harvest, in the later days. If you want to look and feel young when you're older, if you want to be in your 60s and people are saying, wow, you are sprightly as any 40-year-old I know, or any 30-year-old I know. If you want to be like Caleb, whose strength when he was 80 was like when he was 40, you invest now for a later date. And then another issue is that the changing times is, people are still suffering. In the next slide, you will see how changing times are resulting in increased onslaught. The world is not what it used to be when you were a teenager or even in your 20s. The thing that social media has become is messing with people's mindset, messing with their sense of self-worth, making them feel like, they are under pressure to just measure up, and the world is different. It's just different from what it used to be. The pandemic, nobody has totally recovered from what that pandemic did to all of us, And so when you're at this point in time, either you lost your job or you lost a lot of money or you cut off relationships, you are a different person from before the pandemic and now. And so it's time that, we understand that the world is ever changing.
And this same changing world sometimes eats into what we do because technology freezes on us. But give us a minute. Dr. Shakes will be right back to continue the conversation. If you were not taking notes, start taking notes now. We'll get the material later. There's no guarantee. We can watch it later. There's no guarantee. Listen, take it now. You are in the moment. You are here with us till 11:30. Please do not lose sight of that. I'll get in touch with Dr. Shakes right now and we'll be right back. Please don't go anywhere. But if you heard what I said, please just say, yes, I can hear you. If you heard what I said, please say, yes, I can hear you.
Yes, I can hear you.
Fantastic, fantastic. Dr. Shakes is touching nerves that we should all pay attention to. If you notice, he also mentioned things about how the pandemic has continued to hit us till now. We must pay attention to that.
Yes, thank you. I'm back. I don't know what happened. I just got cut off. Can you hear me now, please? Am I back?
Yes, you are back.
Oh, great. Thank you. I'm so sorry. I just got cut off like that. So I was talking about that simple health measures you take now will significantly lower the risks of whatever problem it is that you are having. So how do we reposition? In my next slide, I'm talking about how to reposition spiritually, mentally, physically, socially, and very importantly, I think sexually also. I think that's a big part of what we need to reinvent. We need to transcend. We need to make sure that what we have today is going to be better tomorrow by deliberate steps that we're taking. So if you're 40 today and your blood pressure is 130, 80, you know that if you put in 30 steps now, by the time you are 50, you are maintaining that 130, 80, or even going lower. It doesn't necessarily have to be that the normal trajectory of age becomes your experience, particularly if you are doing everything that you need to do the way you ought to do it. So how do we reposition ourselves spiritually? Why spiritual health even important? It's something that everybody needs to come to terms with because we're just big and it's just a big part of who you are. Whether you're a Muslim or you're a Christian, there's a need to connect with a divine being because you find solace. You need to find that thing that it is that you believe in and connect with it and make sure that you align your principles with this specific. I mean, there are abundance of studies that show that people who have a higher power they call upon are able to better withstand stress, are able to show more ideation. They're able to. There's just an ample number of evidences that would prove it to you. So very importantly, let's reposition our spiritual health. Now, let me quickly talk about repositioning your physical health because this is a big part. Now, you are what you eat. So nutrition is so very important. I will just, these are the highlights of we talk about when we're talking about your physical health. Now, in the next slide, I'm talking about eating healthy. You know, it's very important thing, two things that I really think we need to focus on this next slide is that eating healthy does not mean expensive. Eating healthy does not mean expensive. It is time now that we started investing. When you're in your 20s and your 30s, you really believe you are indestructible. You actually believe that you are indestructible. You don't even have enough money, anyways, to actually indulge in everything fancy, rich, luxurious, you know. But the truth of the matter is that as you get into your late 30s and into your 40s and beyond, your means naturally, I mean, we saw that trajectory that the last speaker showed us. As you go up, you become a leader somewhere down the line, you know, from being the runt in the workforce. So definitely your income increases. And people tend to just imbibe. This is where we think, oh, going out and after this stuff, drinking some champagne, expensive liquor, and all of that. What matter is that as we ingest, the more we ingest some of this, the more looking for them down the line because you are what you eat. And it's also very important to stop the mentality of food as a reward. You know, the idea that, oh, I killed this, I'm going out for dinner. The idea that, oh, I made this amount of money, oh, I'm going to go and buy some drinks. The idea that I think is just so important to come to that place in your mind where you definitely try your best to make sure that food is not the way that you reward yourself. How about rewarding yourself with a session, a harder session at the gym, or some lovely fruits and all of that. So generally, nutrition is a big part of maintaining our.
So people like me who achieve something and we want to go and splurge on food to reward ourselves, we need to start paying attention to that a little more. I hope we're still taking those notes. I'm looking out for questions in the chat section, and they're really not coming out yet. If you have questions for any of the speakers, please put it in the chat section. Also, do us a favor. Okay, Dr. Sheks, you can go on. Just put your questions in the chat section.
My internet just keeps tripping in at the problem. Right? Can you hear me now?
We rebuke it. Continue. We can hear you, sir.
Okay, Dr. Sheks, let me quickly. Dr. Sheks, let me quickly come in. Maybe you should leave your video off. That would help with the internet a bit. At times, Zoom and video would.
Oh yeah, okay. I've switched off my video. Let's hope it doesn't happen again. So I was quickly moving on because I'm so mindful of the time. Getting exercise. Ample evidence that people who exercise will live longer than people who don't, will have a mindset that is more positive than people who do not exercise. In fact, do you know that there's evidence that exercise helps to prevent cancer, which is more commoner as we age? Also, for people who have had cancer, exercise actually prevents the cancer from coming back. So being active and to say that you are exercising, it does not mean that, oh, I've not sat down in the office all day. I've just been walking up and down. In fact, I would say I've covered my 10,000 steps today. What we know about exercise is that it has to be deliberate. It has to be intentional. It has to cause your heart rate to go up. And you have to sweat. And it has to be for a minimum of 30 minutes to 1 hour every day, or at least every time that you do it. So walking around in the market, for instance, all day is not equivalent to exercise. You just have to ensure that you are exercising deliberately. And simple exercises like walking, dancing, skipping, wake up in the morning and decide that, okay, I'm going to do 100 skips. By the time you do 50, you're panting like a dog, but you know that if you rest for 5 minutes, you'll complete it. If you do this steadily, by the end of 2 weeks, you'll find out that you can go through the 100 without even stopping. And then you can add another 50 and you keep upscaling. No matter how busy we are, the lie we tell ourselves is, God, I cannot find the time to get this done. But the truth of the matter is that you can do it at 5 a.m., you can do it at 10 p.m., whatever it suits you, wherever it works for you. But it has to be deliberate and it has to be intentional and it has to be for 30 minutes. I'll quickly talk about getting yourself checked. One thing that Nigerians and indeed Africans, I think Black people generally, is that what we don't do is that we don't get our health self-checked. People, if I ask us now, when was your blood pressure last done, or when last did you do your blood pressure? How many ladies here who are above 40 have had their pap smear done or breast cancer screening done? One thing is that it should be a culture of checking. Why do we need to check? I used to tell people that the fact that you are checking doesn't mean something that is not there will come. And if the fact that you don't check doesn't mean it will not come if it will come. And therefore, we need to invest now. If you can catch up, do you know that for several years, because I have a history of diabetes in the family, if I did my blood sugar and I noticed that I was borderline, once I picked up exercise seriously over a course of 2 weeks, my blood pressure would go down. But after a while, you just realize that your ability to get these things done can be limited. My point, though, is that if you check yourself from time to time, make it a routine to visit your physician every 3 months or thereabout. I just want a walk-up, annual checkup, and things like that. You'll probably be able to detect symptoms, which are a God-given alarm bell to us anyway, to draw our attention to imminent damage. So you're having a headache, check yourself. In the interest of time, it's important for us to also get enough sleep. People should listen with caution to all these motivational speakers who tell you about, why are you sleeping at 10 and waking up at 5? No. People who are making money are awake till 2 p.m. The truth of the matter is that the average adult needs about 7 to 9 hours of sleep. And sleeping itself is a weapon. It's a weapon for repair. It's a weapon for revitalization, and it's something that helps enhances you. So you actually have to have enough sleep. I mean, if there's a need for it and you cannot sleep enough, then fine, but it's just for a short period. A lifestyle of 4 hours of sleep in a day just because you're a go-getter is just complete madness. Please try and make sure that you're getting enough sleep. You also need to know your family history. If you don't know what is running in the family, you don't even know what it is that you're going to need to pay attention to. I beg your pardon. And these are the things that will help you quickly, because there are certain illnesses that run in the family: high blood pressure, diabetes, heart disease, arthritis, and you need to understand that it also helps you to avoid triggers and notice early symptoms when you know the family history. If you know that there's a history of high blood pressure, if you don't know, you would not know. I mean, if you don't know there's a family history of diabetes, for instance, you don't even tell yourself you have to watch some of these things and be on the lookout for them happening. And also, we need to avoid unhealthy habits. Like I mentioned earlier, your 40s are the time that you are making money. It's looking like you need to be a baller to be what it is that everybody is. And therefore, this is where we get issues like smoking, like drinking excessive alcohol, in stressing in and out of our lives constantly, that end up giving us a lot of antioxidants that can lead to cancer, arthritis, blood pressure. So please avoid unhealthy habits. And then mentally, you just have to be in control of your mind. You have to avoid peer pressure, poor self-esteem, drug use, lack of contentment. People are so discontented in the world we live in today. Everyone is trying to keep up with the Joneses, For you to reposition yourself in your mental health, you have to get to a place where you are not just in competition with anyone, you're just in competition with yourself. How do you know that you are not in a good place mentally? You find yourself feeling sad. You find yourself feeling dissatisfied. There's explosive anger. You find thoughts of dying exciting. Like you can sit around and be thinking, what will happen if I just die now? And before you know what happened, you've spent 30 minutes wondering what death will be like, and crying excessively for no reason. To reposition ourselves mentally, I believe my time is way off. So let me just move on to okay, so repositioning ourselves mentally means we have to live within the means, that finding that perfect balance between contentment and ambition. I think that's the big thing, You can't have ambition but still be contented, because it's when you don't find that balance, that you get to a point where then you are just so dissatisfied, and this is bringing problems to your life beyond that what you can handle. Working smart, going for meetings like the one that Kuro is going at 11. These things teach you at 1 o'clock. These things teach you massive steps that you can take in your life to help you galvanize yourself into action and maximize purpose. When you're living in a state of maximized purpose, your contentment, is great, and you can actually then be at peace with yourself, and your mental health is okay. But when you're trying to keep up with the Joneses, I think Kuro, you will agree with me that we've had this conversation before. Oh, this picture I put in there to show us that our best years are still ahead of us. The picture on the left with me, the black shirt, was when I was doing residency at University of Ibadan. University College Hospital Ibadan. And then the other one is me as a consultant. And this picture always is a striking reminder that your best days are still ahead of you. So invest in those days now, and I'm sure that with all of this, you're going to be. So we'll just quickly move on, and I'll go to my conclusion. You can reposition yourself socially by getting your friends to be finding high value friends who you can be with, who understand. Stop working with people who demean you. So in conclusion, which is the second to the last slide, repositioning is essential for change, for us to change the status quo and to invest in the future, so that your health will keep growing as you also grow. And you have to pay the prices now to have a better future. It is now, today, after this conversation, that you invest yourself in a way regarding your health intentionally, purposefully, directly, so that in your 80s, you can say that, like Caleb did, that my strength has not failed. You can say that my eyes have not dimmed. And the most important step in maintaining your health is to catch diseases before they can cause problems, and therefore always remember to go and visit your doctor. Thank you so much. Apologies for the chipping in and out. When did I do my residency in UCH? 2008. I started in 2008. Yes. So thank you so much.
Dr. Shakes, my hands are on my head. Let me tell you why. So, I comments privately, not in the chat section. People saying things like, was this what you planned? Was this what you expected to come? I didn't expect this much. I'm taking notes. I picked a few things. I picked one thing from each speaker that I will repeat. Young Samuel Rungbe, I call her Auntie, is coming up next. The one thing I picked is, whether you do the checkup or you don't do the checkup, if it will come, it will come. If it won't come, it won't come. You might as well check and do something to prevent it from coming, or at least prepare yourself better. Dr. Shakes, God bless you. Your questions in the chat section. Where's my auntie? She was the second or third person to enter the meeting room today. When you have a panelist who's earlier than participants, I don't know what else to say. But Dr. Shakes, thank you very much. Yes, here she is. My mouths are closed. My video is off. Take it away.
Thank you very much, Kuro. It's really exciting to be here to come and talk about one of my favorite topics, because and people will sometimes ask me that, how did I come about, this niche that I play? I mean, I don't know, niche, right? But, having worked in the pensions industry for some years, I also did a bit of, working with asset management companies. I have come to realize that one of the least things people do while they are working is actually prepare for when they will stop working. You know, it's an irony, right? But there's a research, you know, that says that one of the most regretted things for a lot of people is the fact that they did not start planning their retirement early enough. How about that? So in talking about this, you know, after 40, next few steps, I want to come from that angle of what do you start putting in place to ensure that you have that dream life that you've sort of painted for yourself. How do you prepare for it? Because the truth is that when you look at especially the Nigerian economy now, I mean, retirees are having a hard time. You know, who thought that in spite of the fact that they felt they had prepared enough financially and otherwise, they are being thrown into a state of, you know, now really having to manage their funds and be extremely meager, you know, about how they live their lives. So planning for retirement in Nigeria when you are above 40 involves several specific considerations given our local economic conditions, you know, the social security systems, pensions, and all that, and even the available investment opportunities. So let's talk about, you know, evaluating your financial situation first, because don't get it twisted. If you do not have sufficient funds, it's very unlikely that you would have a comfortable retirement, right? And that is the truth. But it is also not the only thing you have to, you know, put in place. One, what's your net worth? Because you need to assess your assets. Real estate, what do you have? Savings, what do you have? Investment, your loans and debts, how do that stack up to give you a positive margin, right? Savings, review your current retirement savings in pensions. And you should be monitoring your pension balance, you know, to see how well it is growing. Do you have provident funds, or do you have your personal savings account? Do you have investment accounts? If you have any debt, focus on paying off the high interest ones so that it frees up more funds that you can now put towards your retirement. If you don't need to borrow, then you shouldn't borrow, especially the high interest, you know, debts. And we know how that is going in Nigeria now, right? And from the time that you're in your 40s, 50s, set your retirement goals, right? I always say that each individual has a different retirement picture, right? My retirement is based on the picture that I painted for myself, and most likely yours will be too, right? So lifestyle, determine the type of lifestyle you want in retirement. Nobody can determine it for you, whether it's moderate, whether it's modest, whether it's affluent, totally up to you. So paint that picture, right? And then look at the sort of expenses you're likely to have. Estimate these future living expenses. And if you're going to retire in Nigeria, this is a very critical exercise for you to do. Because I'll tell you what, retirees that had estimated their living expenses, say 5 years ago, is a totally different story for them now. And that is part of the reality. So there must always be a surplus, you know, include housing, include healthcare, include food, include leisure activities, right? Because those are the things that would constitute the type of lifestyle that you want for yourself in retirement, yeah? Try to maximize your retirement contributions. There is no better time to save and invest than when you have regular income. Because there's just something that regular income does for you. And this is whether you are in employment in an organization or you are running your own business, in which case I assume that you are on a salary. That is how structured businesses are run. So you should be on a salary, right? So how much are you contributing in your pension fund? I mean, are you monitoring, you know, because you should. One, you should be interested in how your PFA, that's your pension fund administrator, is performing, right? So if you're under the contributory pension scheme, ensure that you are tracking, right? Utilize the possibility of voluntary contributions to boost your retirement savings if you're under the contributory pension scheme. That is called the ABC, the additional voluntary contribution. And this is totally flexible, right? And it's up to you. So if you feel you can do a little bit more than what you're being debited from your salary, I implore you to do it, because all this then put into your retirement funds give you a better, choice when you have retired. The employer contributions, some of us that are in employment, apparently, and this is pretty much known, PENCOM keeps coming back to say they have noticed that some employers are not contributing their own share, because they're supposed to contribute 8% and then deduct 10% from the employee. Some don't. So it is your job to ensure that you monitor, because you do not want to have a shock at the end of your career, right? It is an account in your name, right? So you monitor it, because it's like having a bank account, and it goes with it from employment to employment. So you should take an interest in how that is going. We talked about finances, very important. Diversify your investments. And this is not the time to say, oh, my cousin works in this, so and so capital, so that is where I'm taking my money. No, you should be very discerning about who is managing your investment. So asset allocation is important. Like I said, diversify your portfolio. And as you get older, how do I put it? The common thing is that you should be less risk averse. Because what is more important to you, say in your 60s, is, for example, how stable your investment is. When you are in your 30s, 40s, your risk appetite may be a bit more. So that way you can stretch yourself, invest more in, more risky, asset classes. But the way investments work is that the higher the risk, usually the higher the return. And the lower the risk, the lower the returns. But what you then find is that the older you get, and in that age bracket, you are thinking to yourself that, I may not have the opportunity to earn the way I was earning in my 40s or maybe my early 50s or whatever. So I need to be a bit more careful. So the stability of your funds is really the most critical thing at that point, right? Real estate, consider investing in real estate, because it can provide rental income, it can provide potential appreciation. And really, usually in Nigeria, when every other thing fails, as we have seen, at least real estate has the ability to appreciate. There's that potential, okay? It's very important that you plan for healthcare. While we are working, our employers would usually, have health insurance cover for most of us. What then happens when you step out of employment? You should have that at the back of your mind, right? So ensure you have comprehensive health insurance to cover your medical expenses. For preventive care, you need to focus. Thank God for, Dr. Shegs. Make sure that you have a long-term plan for how you want to maintain your health. Exercise, be very, very discerning and mindful of how you manage your health, because all those things would then, what they say, prevention is better than cure, right? So that is what you need to do to ensure that at least the healthcare costs you have ahead of you are more or less reduced, okay? Please understand the pension system, because some of us are under the contributory pension scheme and we have no idea the way it works. It's just sort of something we have, okay, yeah, when I talk to, clients, and some of them say, yes, they take some part of my money, and I think my employer contributes some aspect. You need to take an interest in it. Familiarize yourself with the benefits provided by PENCOM and understand how to even access your money when you retire. How much of your money can you access, right? And there are different options available at the time you retire, different withdrawal options. Which one would you want? Is it the annuity or the program withdrawal, where you are, getting a portion of your money on a monthly basis. Understand why whatever option you go for, understand why you have chosen that one. And this comes from just understanding the entire pensions system. It's not something you outsource to your HR, person. Take ownership of it, because the money is yours. The account is under your name, so it is yours. So please make sure that you are on top of that. And yes, I know, when we say, do you have a will? Do you have a trust? Estate planning. People ask, do you even know how old I am? I'm in my 40s. And I say, okay, right. So did God call you aside and tell you when your last day is? Certainly not. So we need to have a plan for when we are not here. And the issue of death is not my portion. Actually, it's not even true, because death is everybody's portion. It is the time of it that we don't know. We don't have the calendar, but that we won't die, we will. So create or update your will to ensure that your assets are distributed according to your wishes. Because this is now stating that when I go, and it's not about, what do I even have now? If you have one property, one asset, a gold wristwatch, a landed property somewhere, a good car, whatever it is, because what you don't want is for it to go to the wrong hands. Make sure that your beneficiary designations on your pension accounts and life insurance policy are up to date. Some of us have, we started work maybe when we were single, right? So now we have gotten married, we have children, but we have not sought to, sort of change the records with our employers. It's very important that you do that, because now you are trying to look after or look out for your beneficiaries, the people that you're leaving behind. And the people really, if truth be told, the people that you're working this hard for, right? So make sure you do that. And of course, establish a power of attorney to manage your affairs in case of incapacity. It is real, right? Everybody should have an emergency fund. And this is like having a saving, totally different from your investments, totally different from whatever real estate you are managing. Have some savings, maintain this fund with, say, 3 to 6 months worth of your living expenses. Every wise person does this, because the idea here is you want to cover unforeseen expenses. When we had COVID, and within some months, some people had lost their jobs. And because we're even still within COVID, looking for a job was even not so easy at that time. This is when this sort of fund comes in, that yes, you and your family can at least survive until something new kicks in, for you. And sometimes it could be due to health, that you have to step out of, your money-making, position, whether it's your business or you are in employment. So make sure that you have this top of mind, right? And there are a few, housing and lifestyle considerations, right? Take, for example, ownership. If you don't own a home while you are working, I would implore you to consider buying one as part of your retirement planning. Why? Because the last thing you want to do is to be paying rent out of your not so sufficient retirement funds, right? Real estate can also be a significant part of your retirement security, because just having a roof over your head, and the best time to do all those things is while you are working, while there's regular salary coming in, right? Because that way you have projected income and you can plan, right? Relocation, for example, evaluate the cost of living in your current location versus the potential relocation to a more affordable area. Some of us are located in some areas of Lagos or wherever it is we are, domicile, because of where we work, because of where our businesses are located. So question, when we retire, if there's no reason to still justify that place, because usually those are the higher rental, income places too. But you want to do that to give yourself the comfort of being able to, travel back and forth your employment, location much more easily, and also, looking out for your health now. Having to go through traffic and all that. So there are a lot of considerations on this. Do you even want to stay in Nigeria when you retire? That's a question. If you're thinking of leaving Nigeria, have you counted the costs? Right. If you want to jackpot in your retirement, it is a possibility. But all those things should have been put in place now, because it's also better for you to relocate while you are midstream your career, so to speak, so you can access, employment wherever it is you want to jackpot or relocate to. Okay. People say that, oh, listen, I'm retired. What does it matter? What do I don't need to know much anymore. 60 is, for me, the new 40, right? So when you retire, and for Nigeria, the usual average retirement age is 60, right? There is still so much you can have done at 60. I will tell you here, I don't hide my age. I'm 65, and I have come into this vocation with a lot of excitement, and I can't even take credit for it, because it was always something that stirred in my mind that, what would I do when I retire? I needed to have a plan. But I guess also my work experience kind of sort of mirrored this to me, that, listen, there is a need in this niche, because I've seen it play out in my parents' lives, in people older than me, that retirement story of, I've retired, I'm going back to my village, and that's it at 60. No, I refuse to have that story about myself. So stay informed. I would always agitate for continuous financial education. You need to continuously, update yourself. Stay informed. In a country like Nigeria, it's important that you keep up with changes in the economy, because that then sort of guides you in knowing, how am I stacking up financially towards my retirement? How is this balance looking? What do the tax laws say if you want to set up a business, if you want to partner with somebody else within or outside Nigeria? What are the tax laws? What financial planning strategies can you adopt? And because you need to be informed about those, one, I would always ask, that you consider consulting a financial advisor who is familiar with the Nigerian financial products and the local economic environment to help you tailor a retirement plan that's suitable to your needs. That picture you painted for yourself, what is going to deliver it? It is money, right? Also consider consulting a retirement coach, as myself, to work with you in ensuring you achieve your after-work goals. Retirement goals are really multidimensional. There's a financial aspect, there's the emotional aspect, there's a psychological aspect, there's the relationship and family aspect. Of course, there's the health aspect, and the way I work is, I have quite a number of strategic alliances, now in the kitchen, where I can then now point you in the right direction. So I feel that if you focus on these areas, you're likely to have a robust retirement plan, right? One of the things I should not miss to tell you is the idea of rebranding yourself while you are working towards your retirement. I'm surprised sometimes when I meet people in, key professions, very good, strong career, path and all that, and they say they are not on LinkedIn, for example. You have to own some space. Who are you? Because that is what tells people who you are. On LinkedIn, you have the opportunity there to rebrand yourself. Ask yourself, what's my life purpose? By the time I'm not doing this, because for quite a number of us, our work, the job we do, is not necessarily working towards our purpose. Some of us had some dreams, before we came into our working life. So now we are working for the money, right? So retirement then gives us another opportunity to go back, to see what's my purpose? What do I want to be doing? Where do I want to situate myself? What voice do I want to bring, to society? And LinkedIn is one of the places that you can have that, it's a forum you can define yourself, take ownership of a certain topic, position, whatever it is. At least when people are wondering who you are, that is where they find you. Let me share this with you that I can't count the number of people that have contacted me on LinkedIn to tell me they wanted, a retirement coach, to tell me that, oh, they looked at my, profile and saw that this is what I do. They have a group of people that they would like me to come and speak with. And before I got to this, because I already saw myself in that space, I was doing quite a lot of pro bono. And it doesn't always have to be about money, because when you're working your purpose, now you are just driven by the passion to add value, and with time, the money would come as I'm, experiencing right now. And I thank God for it. So make sure that you're able to do this, because in the local realities of our economy now, you have to find something that at least ties you a bit more further into your retirement, something that keeps you busy. Because I always ask that by the time you retire, the question you should ask yourself is, who am I? While you're working, you know who you are. And that's not necessarily who you are, but you think you know who you are. You are GM this, ED that, manager this, I'm doctor this, I'm professor that. But in retirement, nobody cares about that. So what I always say is, in retirement, you go from a who is who to a who are you. So reintroduce yourself to yourself and start from there. And I wish you a very great retirement journey. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I need a minute. I need to finish writing what I'm writing before I come back. So give me 1 minute. I'm still writing notes. You reintroduce yourself to yourself in retirement. I don't know what to say I did not take. You see why I call her auntie, by the way, I hope you not see why I call her auntie. I will share with you again, because I'm going to see her today. She has a session about retirement. I've paid. I'm going to attend. By the way, where's my video? My video is not on. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, everybody who has spoken and everybody who has listened. First point. Now, so that we can maximize the rest of the time that we have, we're going straight to take questions. Many people have made comments in the chat section, essentially just commenting about the session, what you are learning, and cool. Are there questions, one or two? I will ask them quickly. If they are directed at a speaker, I'll ask the speaker. If not, I'll let anyone take a shot at it, and then we can move on. The first one is to you. See, Yang is difficult to call you, so Auntie Yang, sorry, you can't do anything about it. Question to you. Can you please give an estimate of a lump sum in a PFA that one should work towards at age 60?
Thank you for the question, and I could never answer. Like I said, in retirement, paint your picture, right? What type of retirement do I want? I mean, am I that person that wants to travel twice a year, once a year? What will that cost? Where will I be living? I mean, do I still have children I'm educating, so I'm still paying school fees, perhaps in FX? So one of the ways you would know this is to design a retirement budget. So in one column, write all the possible streams of income that you're likely to have in retirement, right? And be as mundane as possible, including if you're going to be inheriting money from rent, whatever. In the other column, what would your expenses likely be? And if you're still paying rent, put it there. Children's school fees, how much you'd be spending on your car insurance, maintaining your car, utilities, every single thing, your health insurance, be very detailed. What that gives you, if you even do one, say right now, okay, it sort of gives you an idea whether you have a positive or negative margin. And then sort of try to also project. Some people say, oh no, I don't even know how much my retirement funds would be. On the website of your PFA, there's something called the pension calculator. So plug in your figures there based on what you have now and how many more years you have to retirement. You will have a decent figure, right? So then divide it by the number of years or months you think you have left. And you know, there's actuarial valuation for all these things. So they will normally project, you know, your retirement, your, how do I put it now? I hate to use the word death, but your date of death. Yeah, exactly. And for women, it's usually higher than men because I mean, it's assumed women live longer than men. At least that's what the historical trend is. So you can then have an idea of how much you'll be getting every month. And then now stack that against what your expenses will be like and every other sort of income you have. So do that budget. That budget gives you an idea of what sort of financial needs you have in your retirement, and it then helps you plan.
Awesome. As we go on, I'm going to drop a link, or my colleagues will drop a link in the chat section, so you can tell us what you feel about today's session. It's Purple Conversations. So what we do is periodically we get people to tell you things that can spur you on to becoming the best version of yourself. Do we have other things we do? Yes, that will come up later. But Banji, please drop in the chat section bit.ly/purple, evaluate Purple 1. Click on it, give us your own feedback, and we can move on. Dr. Yang, again, quick question.
Sorry, I'm not doctor.
Sorry. You know, there's Dr. Shegs and there's accountant GD. So
I disagree. In the Purple University, we hereby make her doctor. She is the authority in this matter in Africa.
Did you just hear?
Yeah. All in favor, say aye.
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 I just heard that one now. I wrote it down. In the Purple University, take note. When you see it happen, know that Ndidi spoke it, we ran with it, and it came to pass. Ndidi, how do you advise someone to start impacting lives around them? I love how you said you feel you don't need to receive more, but rather give more. That's your own question. I'll come to Dr. Shegs right after you answer this.
Okay, so for me, I mean, thank you very much for that question. It would be find a platform. Because I recognize that when we say reinvent and transcend, initially you're just coming into a realization. And I think that Dr. Yang spoke to that, right? But then you want to, okay, what is this thing that I am, this redefinition of self? And what is that platform that exists to enable it? I think that that is the easiest. But I suspect that you will find, as I did, that you will build a platform to project that thing. So it is one of two things. It's not the time to run away and lock yourself in the room, oh, I have failed in life. It is now, what is that association or community of people, okay, where I can serve? That's where to come from. It's not where I can get. It is where I can serve. So recognizing your innate gifts, where they will be useful, and find that platform where you can put it to use. And, you know, Dr. Yang said something, you know, it's not money at this point, right? Money will probably come, will come, if I dare say so.
Yeah.
But it's not money. And that's why in Maslow's hierarchy, the new peak is self-transcendence. What can I do beyond myself to serve humanity? So find the community and join that community.
I wrote down one word, which is exactly what she also said, volunteer. Many people want to just say, let me do it. Auntie Yang said the same thing. We do it all the time. Didi does it, I do it. Just volunteer. And here's what happens when you volunteer. You receive reward for service. Then people identify you as the person to go to for something. So start asking that question. What can I do? And then every time you do that, and please, very important, somebody put that in the chat section. Money always follows you. Please put my name in front of it, is my quote. So let's start selling me. Money always follows value. You have to first give it to us. then money will come afterwards. This is to
Sorry,
talk.
let me quickly say this. And there will be people who say, because I know people who are even in their 50s who say they don't know what they're passionate about. Part of the path of self-discovery is just what Kuro said. Volunteer to do something, and then you begin to unveil yourself even more.
Totally agree. Thank you. Doctor, I saw a question for, well, now we're all calling you Dr. Ian. But so yes, for the doctor, Dr. Sheikh, this is for you. For a woman, why do our bodies change so fast in turning 40? Like weight gain, weakness, and all. Maybe you should also add what you can do to stem that tide. So, Dr. Sheikh.
Right. Okay. Thank you. It's actually an interesting question. The thing is, for everyone, male or female, let's begin to add up after natural order to burn calories decreases as you get older. Your hormones, whether they be estrogen or estrogen, they start to reduce over time as you get older. And these hormones drive a lot of your metabolism and allow you to quote and unquote be just invisible when it comes to weight gain and things like that. But when you're getting older, the natural order of things is a slow decline that would eventually result in, I mean, your metabolism is not the same when you're 20 and when you're 40. Your middle age spread, having the blues, middle age crisis, there's a lot of names that have been coined for all of these things, mentally, physically, emotionally. You're just not the same. It's the natural order of things, and it's a slow march towards the final call of death, anyways, which is why we age and we die. So it's not something to be overwhelmed about. It's something to actually prepare for, and you can transcend it by understanding that if I ate a bar and didn't do any exercise before now, in my 20s or 30s, in my 40s, I'm not going to get away with it. I'm not just, even while I'm sleeping, I'm not burning the same calories I used to burn when I was younger. That's just the natural order of life. So the thing to do is pick up exercises, watch what you eat, even more now than before. Because, every one of these purposeful action is a deposit into the future. And if you look in the social media, you will see lots of people who used to be this big and then they went down this way just by being intentional. When you're older, you are older. You embrace it, embrace your curves, don't allow it affect your mindset. Look at yourself and be good, because many people didn't get things was work and they were now getting fatter here, having love handles there and all of that. But having said that, self-audit, I'm 80 kilograms, I don't like how I look, I want to go down to 65. What am I going to do to get there? Make a list, whatever it is, do the research, then purposefully, work on it so that you begin to see those rewards and then you can revel in yourself. So that contentment with who you are now as you reinvent yourself to get to the place where you need to be.
Thank you very much. Self-audit, check. And you don't have to go to a hospital to check every now and then. When the handles show up, you would know. And you start breathing heavy from walking a short distance, you would know. I want to say something quickly that Anthony Yang mentioned. I want to stretch it a bit. Because if I didn't have any PFA, pension fund administrator, then this would be off my head. If you don't have paid employment where somebody is contributing for you, you can actually do voluntary contribution, or you can do micro pension, a kind of pension scheme where you can save for yourself, determine how much you want to save. You can even draw the money midway, but find those things out. You can reach out to somebody in that space or find Auntie Yang on LinkedIn. All our panelists, please, if you don't mind, please drop your LinkedIn profiles in the chat section. You probably will get inquiries more than you will get connects. And this is what I also tell people all the time. I don't think you will get the best response if you hear someone speak, you love the person's speech, and the first thing you do is to say, connect me on LinkedIn. Some people may not accept the connection request. I would send you a message on LinkedIn and ask what I want. And once the person sees value, they'll talk to you. Think about it. Just say. Quick question. We're not done yet. Who's this next question for? Retirement is multi-dimensional. Could you please explain? 1, 2. These two are going to Auntie Yang. What does it mean when we say retirement is multi-dimensional? And how do I know if my employer is or is not contributing to my PF, my RSA, my retirement savings account? So it's a 2-in-1 question.
All right. Yeah, thanks. I think I'd actually even answered, in the comment section.
Okay.
The reason I say it is multidimensional, I don't want you to just focus on the financial aspect, to the detriment of the psychological aspects of retirement, the emotional aspects, your health, your wellness, your self-branding. There are different dimensions. What I've found, and this is true for some of the clients that I manage, and funny enough, I think it's kind of peculiar to men, where somebody has retired very well, comfortably. I mean, financially, they are doing just well, but they wake up every morning to nothing. A female client shared with me a story once, and I found that so funny. She said when her husband retired, I mean, financially, they had no problems. But, his phone went silent. She said she saw this man struggle with that because as they're sitting in the sitting room, right? I mean, she said she was from the corner of her eye, she would watch him, he would lift his phone, check it, and put it down again. She said after about the 5th time, she had to sort of jokingly say, darling, what's going on? He said, no. I mean, I just thought maybe there's a problem with the phone. Why? Because statistics show, and this is research-based, that we lose about 70% of our contacts when we retire. So what's going to make up for that? I mean, you have to now make sure that you have different groups. They talked about volunteering. I mean, there's a lot of volunteer work I do. I can't tell you the value it adds to my life. I have my school, Old Girls Association. I have my, core group of sisters that we pray together. You must be very intentional about those things. And those are the different dimensions I talked about, that you can be okay financially, but all those other things that enrich your life and make your life kind of not busy, but they sort of replace the work busyness that you had gotten used to, but now in a very relaxed pace, way. I mean, you have a choice to wake up to do whatever you want to do, right? And there's some days that I cut myself some slack and I say, you know what, today is me and Netflix, and it's okay, but it's not sustainable. Because once you come out of retirement and you're in that place where there's that sugar rush, oh, thank God I retired, my alarm clock, I flung it outside and all that. Within a few months, boredom begins to set in because your life was sort of structured. So if you are not, discerning enough to now put some sort of relaxed structure into your retirement, which then, fuels your passion, the things you love doing. So you are just, emotionally in a good place. You would struggle. So that's what I mean by it's multidimensional. There are many things that, you have to do. What's your family relationship, for example? I mean, you and your spouse, did you even discuss this retirement? Because you could have two people on two different paths in retirement. So, you need to sit down and have those conversations. Extended family, you are not doing it anymore because you don't have the money to support them. There are all kinds of things. And those are the sort of things, when I coach, clients will sit down and drill down to see what we can do to ensure that your retirement delivers that picture of the lifestyle you've painted for yourself. Thank you.
Thank you. Awesome. It just keeps getting better and better. Dr. Sheks, menopause and andropause. I think that's the male version of menopause. I'm not sure yet, so come and correct me. But hey, I knew your video will come up. At 40, it's a consideration, no? Things are not, you understand? First of all, I'm making this out of the question. So the first thing is to first give us a brief of what it means, and please talk about it within, but also outside issues around sex. Many people think menopause is just a sexual issue. Please go on, Dr. Shakes.
So I need you to just repeat that. I heard andropause and menopause. Sorry,
Yes.
andropause and yeah, you were asking me something.
Okay, so menopause and the male version of it after 40.
Yes.
What should we be concerned about? What is it outside the concept of sex? And how can we make it more, I don't know what is enjoyable or livable.
Right. Okay, great. Okay, so I had this slide about sexual health, but I didn't have the time to elaborate on it because I was just so conscious of the time. So it's wonderful.
True.
I mean, like, you know, as you grow older, there tends to be a decline in things. It's very interesting, you know. I think for men, virility drops in their 40s or maybe towards their 50s. And then they say that women are the most virile in their 40s. And then maybe there might be a downward turn when they hit menopause. Because you see, these are our sex hormones, testosterone and estrogen, are also responsible or in part responsible for driving for the sex drive, you know, for amplifying them as is appropriate. And women, when they reach menopause, one of the symptoms they have includes dryness of the vagina and things like that. Now, should we be worried? I personally am a firm believer in celebrating things that comes with age. Because the beautiful thing is that no matter what it is that you are experiencing, you're going to be able to find a solution to it. And that's just very fine. It's absolutely important. I think it's under social health. I think that's what it was about somewhere. Anyways, so what should you do? The funny thing is, these things are really simple. Our sexual lives in our 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s can be as robust as we need them to be. It can be as robust as we need them to be. The problem is, how well are we communicating with our spouses to find out what the challenges are? How well are we discussing with ourselves to find out what it is that the problem seems to be? Why are we just turning over at night and saying, no, good night, just because, you know, you are afraid that if you make an attempt to make love, you might find yourself not exactly rising to occasion, no pun intended, or well, maybe pun intended. The truth of the matter is that every problem, no matter how embarrassing, usually does have a solution. I work in the clinic and people come in and men in their middle ages keep telling I'm feeling weak. And what they're actually referring to is erectile dysfunction, where they find themselves unable to sustain an erection and complete the whole process of or the act of having sex and all of that. But they come and say, oh, they are weak. You know, it's just so interesting. You have to rigmarole till you finally find out what the problem is. There is always something to do. If you're a guy and you're having erectile dysfunction in your 40s or in your 50s, number one cause actually is anxiety. Anxiety over money, anxiety over the future, anxiety over your job, worries about your boss. So you have to find a way to eliminate stress. And if this is not happening, talk with your urologist. There are ample opportunities, you know, psychotherapy, medication, anything that you, I mean, if you're in your 40s and you have to have a tablet of Cialis or Viagra to enhance your sexual performance within the confines of good health, there's no shame in your game as long as you're getting your game done. So I think what's important is to understand that these are just temporary problems that can always be fixed. And feminine problems in menopause, like dryness of the vagina, hot flushes, some of these things are very transient and usually end in a matter of weeks, months, or maybe a few years. But when you speak with your gynecologist, for instance, if you're having a problem like that, they can evaluate, they can safely put you on hormone replacement therapy if this is appropriate for you to reduce some of the symptoms. But mark you, they're going to need to evaluate you and introduce you to whatever risk that might also entail to your health, not limited to blood clot formation and possibly maybe even developing cancer at some point in time. Small, tiny risk, but worth considering before you take some of these steps. But by and large, it's a mindset thing. We embrace age as we're getting to it. We take deliberate steps. You see any problem that might be age related, or maybe not even just health related, the solutions are there waiting for you. So why don't you just step up to your doctor and find it? I hope I did justice to that.
Yes, you did. But I want to add one simple comment. Outside the concept of sex, what should anybody above 40 be concerned about concerning menopause? Outside sex.
Outside sex.
Yes.
So I don't know that there's any major thing to be concerned about. Menopause is a natural thing that happens to women. At some point in time, you get perimenopausal, you notice that your periods are not coming on, and as often as they would, as steadily as they would, and then eventually the period ceases completely. During this period, women may be prone to hot flushes, feeling of dryness in the vagina, bone density problems. So they may have bone pains and all of that. It's not a thing to be scared about. It's not a thing to be worried about. It will happen. And when it does, if there are symptoms, then this can be taken. For instance, hot flushes, taking cool baths, staying in areas that have AC. If it's really bad and you're unable to control it, to live with it, you may then need to be placed on hormone replacement therapy to gradually ease you into it. You have to understand that the side effects or the issues that arise because of menopause are usually temporary and will eventually fade out. I think a lot of times it's a mindset thing. If you are able to laugh at yourself, you'll be able to handle some of these things. Now, if you are experiencing intermenstrual bleeding, meaning you saw your period on the 30th, you were expecting it again on the 30th, but you notice that your period is coming on the 15th or something, that might be a health challenge. Or if your period has stopped, if your period has stopped and then you note for about 4 months, 5 months, years, and then you suddenly start noticing bleeding again, it's nothing to celebrate, because this might be the beginning of a really major health challenge like cancer of the cervix, cancer of the uterus, endometriosis, and other things that need to be taken care of. Yeah.
Okay, Dr. Sheikh, I'm going to tell you something real quick, right? And I'm going to get everybody's consent of that. I think we need to discuss menopause and the men version of menopause completely out of this session. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those in favor, say aye.
But Kuro, permit me to join you, because trust me, you want to hear from women, and I see Hafsat made that comment.
Yeah,
you want to hear from women
True.
who are going through menopause. I had a hysterectomy last year, and I was warned that it would force me into menopause, and it did. And I can tell you, it's been a real whirlwind beyond the physical manifestations. I mean, I remember going to church one Sunday, and my pastor was like, Ndidi, what's wrong? And I started crying. Why was I crying to him? Look, menopause can just throw you. It's beyond words to explain it, right? The hot flushes are hot flushes, but the way they come, they are very embarrassing. I can just be having a conversation with you and
break out in sweat.
You start checking the AC. If you did something wrong, it is ridiculous. In fact, very recently, I think it happened to me again, and somebody asked me, oh my God, it's raining outside. That's crazy. And then everybody is telling you, use this, use that. You have to find what works for you. So even that transcending and reinventing, you have to reinvent your life again around coping with menopause. I understand several years later it leaves. The mental health thing with the menopause, people are just, edgy. You say unnecessarily edgy. In fact, the more I've come to understand it, Kuro, I've realized that this is probably one of the unspoken reasons why, even in older age, marriages are breaking up.
Oh.
The man doesn't understand it. A lot of times, the women don't even know that it is
What's
menopause.
going on with them?
It's true. Yeah.
So people are having the craziest symptoms. And I will end with this story. And I will encourage you. I think Oprah Daily or something, she talks about it a lot. So this story, an older friend of mine, she did something on Facebook where she posted, and you should go and I have to look for that link that Nene did, and the craziness of people's personal stories. And she tells this story of this woman who is a friend of hers who was having symptoms. They were so scared. They were traveling throughout Nigeria. They started going abroad. It was one doctor in the UK that told them that this is menopause. Some people, that my older friend, she tells me that she doesn't get up in a hurry because if she does, she will fall down. People are just having the craziest things. But the thing is, it's not the end of your life. You have to find out how it's manifesting for you, and you have to start dealing with it. Because even people who are still in the workplace are feeling the impact. Their bosses suddenly don't understand them because even they don't understand themselves. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ndidi. That's why I mentioned to Dr. Shakes that it is beyond just the issue of sexual related things. I have the eyes, so we'll come back to you. If you didn't register for this session, then you may not always get feedback about Purple Conversations, but it's then time to send us your details. The picture here says stop worrying, start doing. I need to race to a close. Made a promise that in 7 minutes we'll be done. I have one thing you need to pay attention to. This is very important. It was Jim Rohn who said this, and it hits me. They said it. If you don't like where you are, move. You are not a tree. So if you've been doing nothing seriously about changing the way things are around you up till today, today is the day you must start moving. You have to start moving. And many times the movement starts in the mind. That's why we said let's have a Purple Conversation. Bring great people as you've heard speak today and just, talk about it. So we don't put things under the table when they should be on the table. Very, very key. The company that brought this to you, the firm, Purple Training and Consulting, have sessions that will happen throughout the month of June. And trust me, we must sell markets. So in selling the market, this flyer will tell you what we do. But rather than take your time here and tell you, hey, pay to join this session and that session, you can just type this link in your chat section, in your browser, sorry. It will take you to a WhatsApp page and you can chat us up. Please send me the flyer. Tell me which one my staff will need. Tell me which one I would need. Let me tell you why I consider this thing, why we need to understand that our mind is our most powerful resource and we must be deliberate in developing it. It is the way you think and feel that determines what you say or do. And sometimes the way you think and feel has been conditioned by the exposure you had. You can get perspectives of other people. And many people working somewhere will say, oh, until my company sends me on training. Training is 10% of all the learning you require. The rest will happen in the world while you're doing your work and while you're in your house sleeping and doing stuff. So be deliberate about improving yourself. I am going to join Inyang today, Inyang today at 1 p.m. for a session I paid for, and I'll tell you about it in a minute. So check these topics. This is just for June. We have a calendar for the whole year. We do a little more than training. But if you want to ask any questions, just click on that link. Or my colleague will put the phone number in the chat section. Don't call the number, just chat on WhatsApp and you get instant responses. The link is also in the chat section. All right. This is an Inyang session. It's happening today. It's a physical one. So you think I know about retirement? No. Even people like us who tell people, go to learn. We go somewhere to go and draw power before we now come and unleash. I don't like to say all those things we talk about because I don't believe in, but seriously, this is the idea. So I will be attending this session today. It's happening at 1 o'clock. If you still want to attend, it's possible for us to beg Auntie Inyang, please. 2 people from this session will still like to join, even though it's late. So if you want to be one of those 2 people, take our LinkedIn profile from the chat section and send her a message on LinkedIn. But please don't send the message anything after 12 noon. She'll be in the mode for her session. Between now and 12 noon, you want to join, you want to ask for a favor and all, do so. Retirement planning should have started when we started working. We just didn't take it seriously from then. the company, or rather Purple Training and Consulting, we've learned something in this firm over the last 12 years. If people know better, they will simply do better. If you knew better about menopause, retirement, your health, nutrition, you would naturally do better. And for that reason, we do a lot of things in that space. First is training. We also do consulting. We do business development. I'm doing business. I'm not making profit. How do I make that grow? Talk to us. And then we also do recruitment, whether middle level, senior, or junior levels. But we started doing a few new things. For instance, if you want to write a business plan, you can talk to us. You can have AI write a business plan and it won't make sense to you. But if we write one for you, we would explain it to you. If you want to go and pitch to United Nations or World Bank, we will coach you to do so. And you can get whatever you want from it. We also help with audiovisual adverts, like the one you heard us play at the beginning. You're a firm, you want to sell yourself, and you want an advert of a minute or a minute and a half that you can send to people on WhatsApp and they know what you do. Talk to us, we'll do that for you. We're also involved in doing two sets of things. The first one is that we understand that processes determine the results. If you set the processes right, you can almost always determine what the end result is. But people don't have processes in the businesses they run. We think SOPs are for standard operating procedures, are for big companies. If you fry akara, there's a process for blending the beans, storing the beans, frying the akara. If you don't get the process right, your akara will get burnt. So maybe the reason why the outcome of your products and services are not consistent and are not the same all the time is the process. We can help you write it afresh or review the ones you have. And then your KPIs in your business, the key performance indices, do your staff know what they should be doing all the time? We can also help with that. So essentially, just chat us up and we'll take you further in that conversation. I close with this. This is my personal prayer. I created this prayer for myself about 6 years ago. I say it all the time. It's very simple, very straight to the point. My mindset first is that there's abundance in the world and that if I do the work, I will benefit from it. And I think he who does not work should not eat. I read it in the Bible. Because of that, I'm constantly saying this prayer, Lord, bless me first with work. Now, when the work would come, whether through man, through my network, through people who didn't know me, give me the strength to do it. Because if my health fails, as Dr. Sheikh said, I can't do the work. And then give me wisdom to do it properly, right? Now, I want to do the work professionally as well and diligently, as if I'm doing it unto you. It's in the Bible. Whatever your hand finds to do, do it with all your might, as if unto God and not unto man. Because where I'm going to beyond this point, there's no reward, there's no benefits. The world has come to an end for me. So that I may be paid in full for the work I've done, the value I've given. I can give you glory for it, pay my tithe, do what I can do for the kingdom, and then come back to bless the world. Here's my advice for you. Create your own prayer, similar to this. Memorize it like your own personal anthem. I say it every day. What you say to the world that you want, the world will bring it your way. You will notice it more. There's a red car theory. Read it up on Instagram or on the internet. The red car theory is the theory that if you are driving and you're not looking for red cars, you won't find any. But the day you say, if I get a red car, they'll give me $10 for it, you will start looking for red cars. Opportunities don't come but once. They are here every time. You just don't align them with you. When I'm done speaking where I come from, I'm a job by the way. I say Igberi foul. It's 11:30. Igberi foul. The main story has finished. I'm done. Thank you for joining us. Stay to listen to some music if you want to for the next 15 minutes. Connect, chat in the chat section. If we missed your question, sorry, it's because of the time we had to take some of those questions on. But we'll have another Purple Conversation coming soon. If you want to be a part of that Purple Conversation, send us your details. Register for this session and you get updates from us every day. The intention is to make sure that everybody else in the world gets what they want. That way I can get what I want. Ndidi, God bless you. God bless you. Auntie Inyang and Dr. Sheggs, God keep you, multiply you. Everything you lay your hands on will not only prosper, but will impact people around you. So that when you need support, before you speak, people will rise up and begin to bring your way everything that you require. Your people around you will benefit